So there is new news out there that the border wall that Trump wants to build is a bad idea because while it might stop illegals from crossing into the country, breaking our laws, stealing our jobs, that's not the real issue at hand. No. It is in fact an environmental problem, a disaster of sorts because the local wildlife will have a problem crossing the border as well. This is from The Guardian, and no, I am not joking. This is titled, Trump's New Border Wall Will Threaten Wildlife in an Area Where Few People Pass. Yeah. Donald Trump is forging ahead with a new section of border wall that will threaten the wildlife in a remote area where many rare animals but very few people roam. Customs and Border Protection, or the CBP, has invited private sector companies to bid for contracts to erect nearly 25 miles of barrier on the U.S.-Mexico border across the unwalled. Boy, that sounds a lot like unhoused. The unwalled San Rafael Valley, south of Tucson, Arizona, one of the most biodiverse regions in the U.S. Here, vast rolling grasslands stretch across high desert, hemmed in to the east and west by rugged, isolated mountain ranges known as sky islands because they rise abruptly and spectacularly out of the arid flatness. Well, think about this. We're going to build man-made sky islands ourselves, but they'll be wall islands that'll abruptly and spectacularly rise out of the arid flatness as well. Eamon Harity, Wildlife Program Manager for the Sky Island Alliance, a conservation nonprofit, said that this is a crucial wildlife corridor. It's always crucial when it comes to the environmentalist wackos. A nearby motion-triggered wildlife camera, one of the 65 operated by the Alliance, just in the section of the border where there is a lengthy gap at the barrier, captures thousands of images of wild animals, including bears, bobcats, pronghorns. What in the hell is a pronghorn? I'm sorry, I gotta find a prong. Oh, okay. So these little doodads here. Nice. Pronghorns. Okay, anyway. And mountain lions roam. Large predators and other animals move freely through this landscape, said Harity, as he replaced the batteries of a trail camera pointed towards the wide-open landscape that, on a map, would show the border with Mexico. Harity assists in monitoring more than 110 cameras across a wider area for an Alliance study that began in 2020 to record the effects of Trump's evil barrier, I added the evil part, on cross-border movements for the local wildlife. And that movement, he cautioned, won't happen once the wall is complete. I'm sorry. What a reason to not build a border wall. We got to save the wildlife. The CBP is soliciting bids for construction of a 24.7 miles of border barrier around International Boundary Monument 102 in the Sonoran Border Patrol Station area of responsibility. Outside the San Rafael Valley, the stretches of border wall designed to keep people out of the U.S. with 30-foot high steel posts spaced just 4 inches apart are impassable to anything larger than a jackrabbit, the speedy, long-legged hares typical of the area. Oh no, so sad. Look, hey, just think about this. Think about all the animals that won't get eaten because the predators can't cross the border. I think the wildlife that don't want to be eaten by these evil predators crossing the border illegally, these animals, will be thankful of Trump's border walls. Just think about how many wildlife lives this will save. I don't know. It sounds like a reason to do it. Now, Eric Meza, Borderlands coordinator for the Sierra Club Environmental Advocacy Group, the walling of the valley would be catastrophic for the environment and the wildlife, right? Because they can't live on one or the other side of the border wall. I think they'll be just fine. On April 27th, the article goes on to write, the U.S. House of Representatives Homeland Security Committee unveiled its proposed budget, allocating $46.5 billion to fund new chunks of barrier on the almost 2,000-mile U.S.-Mexico border, where building a wall was a focus and highly vexed issue for those who hated Trump and the first Trump administration, and also for those who wanted illegal immigration unchecked in the U.S. and is far from complete. The new push for more wall comes as unauthorized crossings by people migrating illegally to the U.S. through or from Mexico had been falling fast last year. What? After Joe Biden tightened restrictions, shut the hell up. It was a massive swarm. Falling. Get the hell out of here. No. Trump is the reason why there's hardly anyone crossing the border now from Mexico. What the hell are we talking about? And even when numbers were the highest, people were crossing in areas that already had a border wall, said Mesa. San Rafael, there wasn't much of a border wall where there was one. San Rafael Valley never saw those numbers. And of course, the critics of Trump are furious. It is an expensive, unnecessary, and environmentally disastrous project, said Harity of the Barrier, which can cost up to $30 million per mile. If completed, this wall will sever a continent. Well, again, I don't really think the animals care. It's not like they've booked vacations in Mexico and can't get there from the U.S. or vice versa. Wildlife will adapt, as it always has when their environment changes. That's just the reality of nature. Disastrous project. Get the hell out of here. Let's see. Now, successful legal challenges to federal actions on the border can be difficult, but opponents are intensely researching their options. Of course they are. And tall metal boundaries, which not only impede animals, but when under construction and being patrolled, cause huge damage and disruption, are not the only worry for wildlife advocates. You mean insane, lunatic, radical environmentalists. Trump also has announced a plan to further use the military and take over vast swaths of public lands along the border because we have to. Because it is a massive security risk. We should have done this, frankly, 25 years ago, especially after 9/11. You can't have an unsecured border with people who want to kill us crossing into the country. The whole environmentalism thing, it just drives me crazy. These people won't be happy unless we're all living in mud huts or there's no humans around at all. Oh, man. Anyway, so this article goes on to scream and moan and cry for a while, and I'm not going to subject us all to this, but suffice it to say, environmentalist wackos do not like there being a border wall, and their excuse is because it is bad for the predators and non-predators who want to migrate in and out of the country at will. But don't worry, my friends, the wildlife will be fine on either side of the border because that is what nature does. It survives.